We didn't start doing overnight stays here till about 3 years ago. But people have often mentioned that things have been happening in here, but we've never had any real proof of it. It's just been people in here have felt things and all, like the place is empty, but you don't feel as though you are on your own. But it wasn't until we started doing proper ghost nights that we realised that there was a lot of activity in the building. So about 3 years ago, with proof. I don't see ghosts, I feel the presence of ghosts or things, spirits, whatever you want to call them. I've always been able to do it, ever since I was a boy. And it was just one of those things that I accepted when I came and worked here, that there was going to be some activity. And I've never felt uncomfortable on my own here during the daytime. It's just that you get that feeling that you're not on your own, that someone's looking over your shoulder or someone's mooching around upstairs sometimes. You get that feeling. Built in 1249, this particular building, there is evidence to suggest there was one here about 100 years earlier, but it's only it's only what we know from history books. We've got no plans or pictures or anything. In fact, I've just found out today that there is, in a book I've got to find, a history of the Normans, that there was a tower here in 1206, but it's a reference I've got to pick up on. I've never seen anything move, but I do know that things do move, because you can put your keys down and you can go back and get them and they're not there. And when you eventually find them, they're somewhere where you would never put them in a million years. Thankfully, nothing for me, but when we had one of the overnighters, we had a lady upstairs. This was the second time she came. The first time she had a bit of a problem with someone having a go at her, attacking her. And the second time she came, she actually was strangled and she passed out. We had to physically take her out of the building to the other side near the church before she came round. The influence was so strong it actually carried on outside the building. We open for a ghost walk, which is organised by the Heritage Centre, about half a dozen, 10 times a year in the winter months. And sometimes when we've had people upstairs and I've been talking to them, ladies especially have felt that there was somebody standing very close behind them. And sometimes they get their hair ruffled at the back, their hair, and touched on the back of their neck. And it's a chap that is upstairs. He fancies himself as a ladies' man. He's not a very pleasant cove, according to one of the mediums. He's got very bad breath, dreadful teeth, greasy hair and very unpleasant clothes. But he has been felt as a presence, and also he's got this rather disgusting smell that seems to follow him around. We've had a very dark presence upstairs a couple of times, which has been very difficult for the mediums to identify. It makes its presence known, but it won't let you know what it is or who it is. It's neither male nor female or anything. It's been described as being all the nasties of the tower in one place, in one thing. We had an interesting situation up the top of the stairs where one of the mediums had gone across to see what was going on because he'd felt something going on, started fighting against whatever was there. They can fire light. It's a bit beyond me, but it's something to do with light, which they can use as a defence weapon. And he actually disappeared. He had a very, very light T-shirt on and he disappeared. The blackness had come round him and enveloped him. The tower was built in 1249. Henry III had taken Rye back from the French. It was a French town. He'd taken it back from the French and he thought it was a good idea to fortify it. So he had this little tower built on what was then the headland going into the sea. A bit later on, the town was then walled, so it became a walled town. It was, as I say, it was a fortified tower with a lookout on the top, which looked out onto what was then a natural harbour. Unfortunately, it didn't seem to work very well because 1377 saw the town sacked by the French. They burnt every wooden building to the ground. This was saved. The church was damaged. There was a couple of other stone buildings which were left. Because of that, this was turned into the courthouse for the town until they rebuilt the town hall / courthouse. And that's when we first think it was used as a prison. Because on several occasions I've had to have one of the people with me when I've gone round locking up. because I just didn't want to do it on my own. And after one of the ghost walks, when they came up from down the bottom, I had to come back in the next morning and lock it up, because I was just not happy being in here on my own. I managed to get around the building and switch the lights off, but that was all I did do. I had to come in the next morning and put everything away. There's a séance being held in the bottom floor of the women's tower. The gentleman here, this one, is the medium. James is a medium, and there was another medium, Philip, over here. What you're seeing going up and down across the screen, we think are probably what they call orbs, which is like an energy source. It's often explained away as dust. Well, as no one was moving around, and we've been down there for 50 minutes, it's very doubtful whether it was dust. It's more likely to be these energy sources. It will also be caused if someone's walking around upstairs on the floor above, displacing dust down onto the floor below. But we were the only people in the tower, and no one could be heard upstairs. What Andrew is doing is trying to pick up on any energy that's in the building and trying to see whether it's male, female, or just energy in the building. What he did pick up was 3 people, the aforementioned nasty piece of work, and 2 women. One of the women was outside patrolling up and down. We could hear her working on the gravel, actually walking the gravel was outside. And the man and the woman were walking round the group, and I felt one of them go past me. I was standing in this corner here, and they kept feeling them walking around, and basically what they were trying to do was break the ring, the circle of light. The circle of light is the protection that they have for themselves so they don't get attacked, and he was trying to break the circle of light so he could get one of the girls. The girls are all around on this arc here, out of camera shot. It wasn't very nice. Andrew was getting a bit panicky because he didn't want anybody to break the circle, because he knew that something would happen. It was picked up one morning. I switched the monitor on and I wasn't actually looking at it too much, and I did look at it and noticed that there was this sort of thumbprint up in the top corner, and it was there for about half an hour, 3/4 of an hour. It was moving around, it was going in and out in density of light, and there was also things people they thought they saw a face in it. I've got no explanation to what it was. There was no light source down there that could have caused it. There was no reflections. The sun was in the wrong position, and it was just very odd. We don't know what caused it, but we think it could possibly be some sort of orb. Orbs generally have quite a strong definition, but in this particular case it didn't. But we don't know.